Turn back to the brewing tensions in the Middle East and the back and forth attacks between Iran and Pakistan. That's been a new hotspot for trouble while the Houthi rebels continue to launch attacks against ships in the Red Sea.
That's right. Let's bring in our national security and foreign policy analyst and Democratic strategist, Ari Armesh, to discuss this situation. Ari, as we just mentioned, you are a Democrat strategist, but you've been pretty vocal about the Biden administration failed foreign policy, especially in the Middle East, especially with what Joe Biden has allowed Iran to do here. What's your take on everything?
I'd like to say, what would Brent Scowcroft would say, American first, Republican second. Well, I'm an American first, Democrat second. I still haven't changed my mind about, voting for the Democratic nominee or the heir apparent, which is, the apparent candidate, which is Biden. But truth be told, the Biden administration's policies, especially vis-a-vis Iran, have not been successful, to put it very kindly. Let's just give you a quick synopsis of what's been going on. Since the Biden administration took office January 21st, 2021, they tried to revive a dead nuclear deal, the deal that President Trump withdrew from unilaterally. Good or bad, President Biden started making a lot of concessions to the Iranian regime. One of these concessions was loosening up oil sanctions. Iran has sold about $100 billion worth of oil just the past 3 years. Their coffers have been filled with gold. Now, is that money being spent inside Iran for the people of Iran? No. A lot of it is lost in corruption, but it's for their sons and daughters of key officials to spend in European capitals and in Toronto. You just to visit the Toronto, Canada shows sort of a disturbing picture. But on top of that, a lot of that money goes to Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Hashd al-Sha'bi in Iraq, the Syrian regime, and also every proxy that's fighting for the Iranians and for the Syrian regime in Syria, and the Houthis in Yemen. And I've only just covered 5 out of the 7 countries that the Islamic Republic of Iran has got its bloody hands in.
Ari, what do you think needs to happen, not just to stop the attacks by the Houthi rebels in the Red Sea, but moreover to do what you said to slow down this, I will say, dramatic, bold push that we're observing from Iran?
In the words of the late Robert McNamara, you have to have empathy. He's the former Secretary of Defense under the Kennedy and Johnson administrations, and I saw that there was a reference made to Kennedy and Johnson in the previous segments. In his words, you have to have empathy for your enemy, for your adversary. But you also got to remember your adversary is not always rational. The Islamic Republic's rationale, if you want to put it that way, is very different than our rationale. Rationale for stability, for world peace, for commerce, for better economy, for trade. The Islamic Republic of Iran's rationale is chaos, is mayhem, is exporting a radical Islamic ideology and a revolution, and also causing problems. Name one country that this revolutionary Iranian government has been involved with the past 44 years that has gotten better, not worse. Look at Iraq, look at Syria, look at Lebanon, look at Afghanistan, look at Yemen. Goes on and on and on. So what can we do? When we know the rationale is different, and this is something that President Trump figured out pretty quickly, they back down and back off and lay down and lay off when they see force on the other side of the table. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ari, real quick, while we got a little bit of time here, I'm going to ask you internally, as a Democratic strategist here, is there been talks within the party that you know about that there is admission that what the Biden administration has done just simply hasn't worked? Because I know there's really no dissension in the Democratic Party, and they would rarely ever come out and say that.
No, actually, there has been a lot of disappointment with a lot of so the people who are very happy with President Biden's support for Israel have also been very disappointed by some of the far left radical sort of protests. And everybody's okay with protecting civilian life, but when you come outside and have, wave Al-Qaeda and Hamas banners, I got a problem with that. Yeah, you have the right to do so, but I also have the right to have a problem with that. But again, as some of these policies vis-a-vis Iran have been questioned, again, we're talking about the Iran team that was led by Rob Malley for a few years, who's now under FBI investigation. And now we'll see what Abram Pauly does now. But very quickly, just want to address this. 4 years ago, this time, President Trump killed the top terrorist leader in the Mideast, General Qasem Soleimani. That guy put bin Laden to shame. He had more American blood on his hands than bin Laden could have ever claimed. And guess what the Iranians did? They launched a few missiles But they also told us, so we had our soldiers out. They didn't kill a single American soldier. You know why? Because President Trump told them that you hit an American life, we're going to hit you. We're going to hit the Supreme Leader's office. We're going to hit the presidential compound and so on and so forth. Their rationale is a rationale of force, whether we like it or not. And it makes me sad to say this, but one of the reasons they unleash their Houthi proxies and all these other proxies to launch at us is A, they're willing to fight to the last Houthi, not themselves. And second, they back down when there is a credible and enforceable threat of force behind politics and behind diplomacy.
Right. Yeah, Ari, amazing when you think of just back in time to our previous president, President Trump, as you mentioned, and then look at what's going on now with the Biden administration. Quite a difference. Ari Aramesh, we appreciate your analysis. Thank you.
Good to be with you.
You can't ignore that fact, how much differently it looked.
And again, a reminder that was a Democrat
Yes.
speaking and an expert in his field as well.
Yes, it was. Okay.